While the average American is looking at their local gas station celebrating $1.99 a gallon, the bumblebees are staring at a much more dangerous date on the calendar, May 15th, 2026. This isn't just a spring Friday. It is the day the global financial guardrails are officially removed. As of today, the Federal Reserve has officially frozen interest rates at a range of 3.5% to 3.75%. Jerome Powell is standing his ground, refusing to give the White House the 1% rates they've been demanding on Truth Social. But here is the secret the mainstream media is missing. Powell isn't just fighting for the dollar, he's fighting for his survival. With a Department of Justice investigation into Fed cost overruns and a grand jury subpoena hitting his desk just last week, the May reset is no longer a theory. It is a scheduled execution of current monetary policy. We are now less than 100 days away from a total regime change that will redefine wealth for the next decade. If you are holding traditional paper assets, you are standing on a fault line. Today, we follow the liquidity breadcrumbs to see why the next 100 days will be the most volatile in your investing life. I don't care about political theater. I care about math. Watching the most powerful central bank in the world get backed into a corner by a single administration is chaotic. But for us, chaos is arbitrage. When the outer circle sees a government shutdown and a Fed chair under subpoena, they panic and move to cash, effectively locking in their losses to inflation. But the bumblebees see the melt-up. I'm the Asian girl, and today we're looking at the hard data, the 200 billion mortgage raid, and the specific market traps you must avoid as the rate bazooka prepares to fire. We are moving from a world of independent, data-dependent stability to a world of executive dominance. In this new era, the ledger doesn't care about your hard work. It cares about your positioning. If you don't understand the new rules of the game, you aren't a player. You are the one being liquidated to pay for the winners. Let's dive into the blueprints of the new American economy. Let's look at the hidden conflict that exploded on January 12. President Trump didn't just ask for rate cuts, he went for the throat. The Department of Justice is now investigating Jerome Powell for criminal mismanagement related to the $2.6 billion renovation of the Fed's Eccles building. Powell claims these are standard cost overruns. The administration calls it a felony misappropriation of taxpayer funds. This is the sword of Damocles. By pinning a criminal probe on the Fed chair, the administration has successfully neutralized Powell's ability to act independently. The strategy is brilliant in its brutality. You don't fire the Fed chair and cause a market panic. You handcuff him. During the January 28 meeting, we saw the results. Powell dissented, desperately trying to hold rates steady to fight structural inflation, while his own Trump-appointed governors, Christopher Waller and Stephen Moran, voted openly for immediate cuts. The Fed is no longer a monolith. It is a house divided against itself. On May 15th, the clock runs out. Powell's term as chair officially expires, and the bumblebees are already looking at his replacement, Kevin Warsh. Warsh isn't just another banker, he is a productivity hawk. His thesis is that the AI revolution has created such massive efficiency gains that the old rules of inflation no longer apply. He believes the Fed can fire a rate bazooka and slash interest rates down to 1% without triggering a 1970s-style wage price spiral. This is the May reset. We are witnessing the pivot from a defensive, inflation-fighting Fed to an offensive, growth-at-all-costs Fed. If you aren't positioned for 1% rates in a 4% inflation world, your savings are about to be the fuel for the next great melt-up. On January 8th, the administration fired the first shot in what is essentially a nationalization of the mortgage market. President Trump directed Bill Pulte, the newly appointed head of the FHFA, to execute an emergency liquidity injection. They are taking $200 billion in retained earnings, cash that was sitting inside the coffers of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and using it to aggressively buy up mortgage-backed securities, MBS. To the outer circle, this looks like a miracle. Mortgage rates briefly dipped to 5.99%, sparking a wave of buy the dip headlines. But the bumblebees know how to read the spread. This $200 billion isn't a long-term solution. It is a 1.4% drop in an $11 trillion bucket. It is a manufactured psychological floor designed to prevent a total freeze-up of the housing market while the Fed is in turmoil. The trap is simple. By forcing rates down through artificial demand, they are creating a false rally. JP Morgan analysts are already sounding the alarm that this move only reduces real yields by a measly 10 to 15 basis points. Yet it has convinced thousands of families to jump back into a market where prices are still at all-time highs. If you buy into this bailout hope now, you are effectively acting as exit liquidity for the large institutional banks that have been looking for an excuse to offload their mortgage risk. For the bumblebees, this is a clear signal. If you are a buyer, do not chase this manufactured dip. Wait for the May reset. If you are a seller, however, this is your golden exit window. This is the highest level of liquidity you will see before the rate bazooka creates a total structural overhaul of how we value property in America. The One Big Beautiful Bill, OBBBA, is the new law. You have until July 4th, 2026, for the physical work test. If your green energy project hasn't poured foundations or installed racks, your tax credits are dead. We are moving into the Genesis mission, where the government only protects fossil fuels and nuclear. If it's not physical, it's not an asset. While solar dies, the Section 45X manufacturing credit is a gold mine. Credits now account for 40% of net margins for US-based battery plants. If it's not made in the USA, it's a liability. The bumblebees are rotating into domestic industrial moats. Follow the money into the factory floor, not the speculative ticker symbol. Gas is cheap, but your electric bill is a bomb. Capacity prices in the PJM market hit $329.17 per megawatt day. Why? Because 1 gigawatt AI data centers are hogging the grid. Starting June 1st, families will pay an extra $18 a month to subsidize big tech's GPUs. This is the silent AI tax, and you need to own the generation to survive it. On January 9th, Vistra, VST, signed a massive 20-year deal with Meta for 2,600 megawatts of nuclear capacity. But the detail the bumblebees need to watch is the 433 megawatts of uprates. These companies aren't just building new plants, they are literally overclocking existing nuclear reactors to feed the AI beast. We have officially entered the era of the 1 gigawatt club. Right now, there are over 70 data center projects in the US scoped for 1 gigawatt of demand each. To put that in perspective, 1 gigawatt can power 1 million homes, but in 2026, it's being siphoned into single Meta or Microsoft campuses. With $2.4 trillion in AI data center development underway, power has become the new gold. The inner circle has long known that silicon is nothing without electricity. As the rate bazooka fires in May, the capital flight into infrastructure will be historic. Companies like Vistra and Constellation Energy have become the infrastructure toll booths of the 21st century. They own the baseload power that the AI revolution requires to survive, meaning they don't just participate in the market, they set the price of admission. Wall Street is calling for S&P 8,000. Not a single analyst is predicting a down year, the same sentiment as 2008. We are in the blow-off top. As the rate bazooka hits 1% in May, stocks could surge 50%. You need a calculated exit strategy before the May reset pops the liquidity bubble. It's time for the Barron ratio, 70-20-10. 70% in policy moats, energy, 20% in high-response hedges, gold, BTC, and 10% in cash. Cash is dry powder for the May volatility. In a world of executive orders, your ability to move money in seconds is your only defense. Your mandate for the next 100 days is clear. You must aggressively transition your portfolio from speculative green hope into physical industrial moats. First, perform a deep audit of your energy holdings. The July 4th OBBBA cliff is a hard stop. Any wind or solar project that has not met the physical work test, meaning foundations are poured and equipment is on site, is effectively dead as a tax-advantaged asset. You should be rotating that capital into the Genesis mission favorites, specifically nuclear and domestic gas generators like Vistra, which are currently the only entities capable of fulfilling the 1 gigawatt AI data center contracts. Second, treat the current $200 billion mortgage injection as a false flag for long-term stability. While rates have dipped to 5.99%, this is a liquidity bridge, not a market recovery. Use this window to offload non-core real estate assets to outer circle buyers who still believe in a 2019-style recovery. Finally, you must prepare your liquid reserves for May 15th. When the leadership at the Fed changes, the market will experience a bull-bear steepening, where short-term rates drop, but long-term yields potentially spike due to massive deficit spending. Position yourself in the 70-20-10 Barron ratio immediately. Your 10% cash must be ready to deploy into the AI melt-up the moment the rate bazooka fires. In 2026, the winners won't be those who work the hardest, but those who front-run the executive orders. Some call it the art of the energy deal. Others call it a rigged market. Regardless of the label, the result is the same: the total nationalization of the American supply chain. We are moving into a system of modern feudalism, and the bumblebees understand exactly how the hierarchy is built. In this system, the king, the executive branch, controls the fundamental inputs of survival, energy and housing, while the prince, the digital ledger, controls the flow of capital and liquidity. The math is simple but brutal. By artificially depressing gas prices to $1.99 through strategic supply raids, the administration is buying political time to perform a high-risk organ transplant on the Federal Reserve. The moral dilemma here is the information gap. The outer circle is being lulled into a sense of security by cheap gas and temporary mortgage dips, while their long-term purchasing power is being sacrificed to fund the AI supercycle. When the Fed is neutralized on May 15th and the rate bazooka fires to 1%, we aren't just looking at a stock market rally. We are looking at the final consolidation of wealth into the hands of those who own the infrastructure. If you own the nuclear plants, the refineries, and the AI data centers, you are the new aristocracy. If you are merely a consumer, you are being taxed through silent capacity spikes and grid fees. The wealth gap in 2026 isn't about how much you work, it's about how close your assets are to the executive moat. The closer you are to the bumblebees, the more gold you produce from the noise. The math says the system is resetting. The moral says you'd better be on the right side of the ledger when it does. We are witnessing the rebranding of the American economy, where energy from the past and infrastructure of the future are being merged to cement dominance for decades. The wealth gap in 2026 is purely an information gap. While the outer circle waits for permission to be wealthy, you are already positioning for the payout. I'm the Asian girl, bringing clarity to the decisions quietly shaping your money so you can stay ahead of the ledger. Stay informed, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next one. Drink some water, you've earned it. Click here to watch another video. YouTube picked it out for you based on what you like watching.